Hi, boys and girls. I'm going to read to you Chapter 6 from the novel What Was the San Francisco Earthquake? In Chapter 6, the title is Deeds of Bravery. April 18th, late afternoon. Jack London, San Francisco's most famous writer, feared the worst. I knew it was all doomed, he wrote. By Wednesday afternoon, half the heart of the city was gone. As he watched, the heat from the fires created strong winds that spread the flames faster. Even so, firefighters fought on, often helped by soldiers and volunteers. They searched desperately for sources of water. They pumped it from sewers, from pools on construction sites, and from the ocean and bay. When they had no water, they tried to beat out the flames with their heavy coats and blankets. It was a back-breaking job. In some places, people helped save the buildings where they worked. One was the U.S. Mint, where gold and silver were stored. A well for fighting fires had recently been installed. Unfortunately, the quake had broken its pump. Finally, the pump was repaired. Mint employees took hoses to the roof and sprayed water over it. On the lower floors, people with buckets of water put out small fires before they could spread. Later that day, the fire passed by sparing the Mint. All around it, other buildings had burned to the ground. Near the Mint was the new U.S. Post Office. Many people thought it was the most beautiful building in San Francisco. Though postal workers were told to go home, many remained. To prevent any sparks from catching fire, workers tore down curtains and moved furniture away from windows. They soaked empty mail bags in water and used them to block broken windows. They too won their fight to save their workplace. Not only that, every piece of mail at the post office was eventually delivered. Later on, letters without stamps were delivered. People had sent them to tell friends they were safe. The post office even accepted messages written on scraps of paper and shirt collars. Sadly, most of the business district went up in flames. The offices of the city's newspaper fell victim to the fire. One was a San Francisco Call building. At 18 stories high, it was the tallest building in the city. It was one of the skyscrapers Chief Sullivan had worried about. The windows of the building shattered, fanning flames that made the temperatures inside rise to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Even the window frames melted. Though the shell of the building remained standing, everything inside was destroyed. Moshe Cohen was a photographer at the Call. He escaped and went to a small park. People had abandoned some possessions there. He found sugar, coffee, and bread and decided they shouldn't go to waste. He discovered a well in the nearby garden. He built a fire and made coffee. With discarded cups from the park, he opened a makeshift restaurant. As weary people passed by, he offered them as much as you like for nothing. That was only one example of the spirit that would save San Francisco.